All right, welcome back to another episode of EventHubs Talk on Block. I am John Catalyst Green. With me as always is John Velociraptor Guerrero.
Hey, talking about something we never talk about here in Talk and Block is Tekken 8, but there is a whole bunch of new information that we just got. A trailer for a character that I suspected was going to be in the game, but now she's confirmed, or he. And then, and also a whole bunch about the mechanics. And man, Bandai Namco, they're doing some moving and shaking with Tekken 8. I'm not necessarily sold on it, but we'll get into that in a second. John, initial reactions, what'd you think?
Yeah, I liked that intro you did, John, but I don't think it was aggressive enough because that is one word that jumped out right from the get-go. Yeah. Street Fighter V, be damned, that is the best game of all time according to FGC developers because Guilty Gear Strive and now Tekken 8 are being like, hey, that whole defense, that whole side of, fighting games, heck with that noise because we've got some offense. Let's go crazy. Let's go ballistic. Has helped strike me. So just in a nutshell, before we get into all of the details, my point of view, and Tekken admittedly is not my main game, but I've played a handful of Tekken games in my past and such. It seemed like Tekken 7 really figured things out to a really good degree. Like, it wasn't perfect, not by any means, but man, Tekken 7 has been really going strong, tons of momentum. People have really enjoyed it in so many different ways, and it's been around consistently for a long time now. Like Tekken 7 has been carrying the franchise for a long time, and people are ready for Tekken 8, but they'll still play Tekken 7. And indeed, there was even a little more stuff about Tekken 7, that's continuing for a little while longer. So I didn't think that we needed a huge departure, and this isn't necessarily a huge departure. A lot of what we saw here in the Tekken 8 mechanics are evolutions, but oh my gosh, I feel like they are stepping in a pothole that other games have already stepped in their exploration of how to make fighting games more accessible and more esportsy, and like Tekken 7 was the exception, and now they're like, oh no, we're gonna do that too. And I am afraid for Tekken 8. In a single word, I am a little afraid. Yeah, fighting games are known for having some defensive play into them, but this is the era of esports, it's the era of explosive offense, and it's something that we've commented about, and I don't want to get too much into a Capcom fighting game here, but it's something we've praised Street Fighter 6 for because there is a balance between offense and defense, unlike Street Fighter 5, where that game is unbelievably dispositioned towards offense. And it looks like Tekken 8 is going to be the same way, and it's like, oh boy, I really hope you guys know what you're in for here, because we're fighting game players. We like both sides of the spectrum. It's we might have a disposition towards one or the other, but we like playing both styles. So to get into it a little bit here, the rage system is back. That's been in there since Tekken 6, and rage arts are also back. But the rage drive is now gone. They removed it for being too complicated, and it's also been replaced now by the heat system. And
we're going to call this going in heat, by the way. I don't see there's any way around the entire FGC saying when you're in heat, talking about Tekken 8, that's starting now.
That's really good. And now the Rage Art as a universal down forward command, plus both bunch buttons, hey, straightforward for everyone. There it is. But
a lot of simplified, you can just attach an entire mechanic to, or maybe not a mechanic, but a move or a maneuver to a single button. They've got those simplified controls in there, as is par for the course these days.
Yeah, so the rage system, pretty much how people remember it, slight change there. And then we enter the heat system, and it's like, okay, there's two comeback mechanics in this game now, and so it's like, okay, here's ultras and V triggers. We put them both in the same game, and it's like, ooh, and that's where things start to get a little scary here for me, because the heat system generally, there's very few ways to actually be negative on block while doing it. There's a couple, or there's one I should say in particular, but it looks like pretty much like you're activating X Factor and Marvel are doing something, and it's like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? How did it strike you?
It's, well, like they said, they're not skirting around it. It's all about aggression. It's all about offense. One of the ways you can look at this is how many mechanics or mechanical aspects did they look at that had to do with offense versus how many did they show that had to do with defense. And I could count about one that had to do with defense, and it is the heat system. Well, no, it's not, but it is very much tied to the heat system with chip damage that you can do. But it's actually, the secret to it is do more offense. And that is that they've reintroduced white health. And that white health never goes away unless you get hit. But the only way you get it back is if you are doing attacks as well. So every road leads to offense with this game. And the heat system just adds on to that because Well, one of the ways they talked about it was when you activate heat, not only are you doing a ton of chip damage as your opponent blocks, if they're blocking, if not, GG's. But then you're also, they said, use this to shave off and position your opponent. So you're shaving off damage and you're positioning them next to the corner or next to a wall, I should say. And it just looks like it's a scarily all offense.
Yeah. It's we'll have to get the image up there. Oops, all crunch berries, right?
Yep.
So oops, all. So here we go.
Well, it's not an oops. They're doing it 100% on purpose, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like maybe it will be brilliant, but hot damn, everything that I've known as someone who's been studying fighting games, looking at it, observing what works and what doesn't, this does not look balanced, and that's why it's.
It looks balanced for offensive players. Well, not balanced. It looks catering to offensive players. But so I do want to get into it. Nina here a little bit because this is a pretty hype reveal. Nina Williams, the assassin, is back. They're calling her the silent assassin. She's got her dress.
She's got guns. That's not silent at all. But fair enough. Right. And I don't. This I'm sorry. I'm being negative. I like what Nina looks like. I like what Tekken 8 generally looks like. I don't want to be a negative Nancy about it. But all the stuff I said is still very much. But you were saying Nina.
Yeah. So she pops up here. She's got a really nice purple dress on. She's got a leather jacket and sunglasses, and then she's doing like flips. She's matrixing John Wick and all the other kind of matrixing, I should say. All this other kind of stuff. A very over the top style. Even got a bit of some flavors of Devil May Cry in there. It's like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like this is kind of like what you would expect from a realistic but not super realistic kind of like fighting game. I think Nina looks fantastic. I think fans of her are going to be pretty happy with this implementation of her. And then she uses the guns in the match, and the other characters just sitting there taking the bullets to the face and the chest like a pro, kind of thing. So
I think those Lars, right? It doesn't even pierce, like they hit him in the back a bunch, but it doesn't even pierce his jacket. And for some reason, I cannot suspend that disbelief. I was distracted by that. That's not the point, I know, but
yeah. So but
got them rubber bullets.
I think Nina looks. She looks like what you would expect. Her model looks great. Her overall style looks great. This is like, okay, this is how you kind of like deliver on a very historic fighting game character and make people hopefully very hype about playing her. She's got a lot of her old moveset stuff back, which is great to see. I would give the trailer an A+ for Nina. It looks really good. So
I think it's a fun evolution. They always tweak Nina a little bit. I don't know that she's ever had short hair like this. This is a good, kind of call. It does make her. I didn't recognize her until Nina popped up onto the screen. In fact, if you were like, this is the evolution for Anna, I wouldn't have been, I wouldn't have contested that. Yeah, so just with blonde hair now. Yeah. But she does look cool. You can't help but notice the way the machine guns go off, or the submachine, whatever they are. That's a really cool aspect to her, and she's been an assassin that totally fits with her character. She's kind of speedy, getting in there, and I think everybody expects Nina to be around. So that's a good addition. We're obviously waiting for a lot more when it comes to expectations for Tekken 8 and such, but this was one of those major hubs that you wanted to get in there, and it is.
How would you grade her? I gave her a plus, which we're not supposed to do, but so I'll change it to an A. What would you give her?
I'll give her. I don't want to be too liberal with my really high grades. I want to save that, but I didn't dislike her at all. I give her a B, and if we were giving pluses or minuses, a B+, but since we're not, she's getting a B, but I really like it.
All right, well, sweet. So now let's get back into the controversial stuff. There's the good stuff. Okay, so talking about this a little bit, recoverable health is in for certain big attacks and aerial combos or juggles, however you want to term that, and then the heat system. But you don't recover health over time, as you're talking about like in other games. You get it by being aggressive. You get it by attacking, by either landing attacks or making your opponent guard them. Low attacks can also remove some of your white health. It does not remove all of your recoverable white health, just some of it, right? And then white health will not, as we say, will not disappear automatically, not going anywhere. It stays there until basically some interactions happen on screen. So it doesn't recover, it doesn't go away, it's just always kind of there. And then, you've got to be aggressive to get it to recover. Running away will not do it at all. You can't dodge, you can't do anything, you can't sidestep. It's just, you have to do something to get it back. So it's quite fascinating.
So the way the thing that this resonates immediately with, for me, is the perceived and realized difficulty that fighting games tend to have to get into. And I would say that Tekken, it kind of stands out as one of the even more difficult games because, one, it's got the 3D nature. Everyone has 2,578 moves to learn. and then you've and now you've got all these other like little bits and mechanics in here. This to me doesn't seem super there for the general public that has never played Tekken before. That this is a little more intimidating. Yes, they have shortcuts into these things. It does look more watchable, and that's where I think Tekken developers are honing in, because Tekken is admittedly been very exciting to watch. But if there's one thing I would fault it for, from especially from a more general point of view, like a casual viewer that doesn't really understand all of the particulars that are going on, it can last a little bit longer, and there can be a little more stalematey stuff. And I think that's what, especially back in Tekken Tag 2, but that's its own thing. But I think that's something that developers are attending to here. But they may have lost sight of other aspects of the game in trying to make this more bombastic, and trying to make sure that someone's always throwing a punch, and there's more instances where the screen can change color and slow down. That's really good, and they nailed that, especially with the slowdown, the rage arts. They've really nailed that, but then they're turning that up and kind of forgoing other components of the game.
Yeah, so speaking of that, let's break down the heat system here. So you pop your heat system, your character starts glowing blue for 10 seconds, and then the timer can actually stop while the opponent is blocking a move, so you can keep your heat activation going. So it's not a permanent it's not a static timer. It's a timer that you can alter, again, by playing offense. So and then heat burst
all roads lead off.
All roads, exactly. Heat burst is the raw activation of the heat system. It has slight advantage on block or hit when activating it raw, so it's not like a Capcom game where typically you activate this stuff. If you do it raw without sticking normal on someone, it's usually disadvantage. You're usually like -5, -3, something like that. This one is always plus. You can also juggle into the heat burst with an aerial combo, an aerial juggle. You don't have to activate with a move with the heat burst. You can actually just raw activate and do nothing, and that's fine. I think you maybe have to enter command to like cancel the move or whatever. And then an attack from heat burst provides a bounce-like hit like in Tekken 7. So, or Tekken 6, I should say. So the bounce system is, which was, they got removed. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but it's kind of back, at least in some kind of flavor of a way here. And then, so getting further into the heat system, there's a lot here. Then there's the heat engager, and that is the second way to activate the heat system. And there are about 5 of these moves per character that you can use in Tekken 8. Landing an engager causes your character to charge in afterwards, so they can continue the combo. Apparently, comboing after an engager is very easy, but it is negative. It's -1 on block. That's a good thing to remember on it. So if you don't do it correctly, you're definitely slightly disadvantaged. Attacks in heat mode, they cause the white health damage that we've talked about before. And there are also unique attacks while you are in the heat mode, heat status, while you're in heat. The unique attacks are signified as a little 8 chain next to the heat gauge underneath the character's life bar called heat energy. Depending on how this is a mouthful, people, I'm trying to get through this. Depending on how you activate the heat system, you either get 1 or 2 stocks of the heat energy, the little 8 beneath your life gauge. Heat burst gives you 1 stock, and that's a raw activation, but if you connect with a heat engager, that generates 2 stocks of heat energy, which you can choose how to use.
Okay, so the simplified version of all that is that the heat system makes you hit harder, and it lets you hit for longer, and it gives you maneuvers to either get closer to your opponent or hit them for more of a combo, more of a juggle. Point is, it just tweaks up the offense. And like, what are the answers when you're on defense? They talk about this. They say, well, how does Harada say it? Like, when do you put your hands in or interrupt your opponent, kind of a thing. And they're like, yeah, you got to do it. It's probably not going to be great. Is like what they were basically saying.
Yes.
Now there is Power Crush, which to me sounds basically like the same idea as like a Drive Impact for the most part, where you basically garner some armor and you can move forward, and so you absorb a few of the attacks as your opponent is going to town on offense. But you can interrupt them because you absorb a few and then you attack, and those give you white health. And that was around in the last Tekken game as well. But it sounds exceptionally important as one of your few defensive mechanics outside of blocking and trying to get your white health back by turning around and attacking. But you're going to be doing that regardless. So I don't know. I don't feel like if one of the players is better than the other, that's going to immediately, they're just going to get completely overwhelmed. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's not that there's lack of a comeback mechanic, it's just that there's lack of options on defense.
Yeah, really, really heavily. One of the things they did cite with this, and I don't know how impactful it's going to be, but there is some level of resource management with the heat system, where if you use, the 1-stock, 2-stock version, other things, there's some stuff going on there. I don't know how applicable that's really going to be during gameplay, because they even talk about just using it right away or saving it for the end of the match and other stuff, and it's like, but with rage in there and everything else, I'm like, man, I mean, if you got it, why not use it, type thing. I think it's going to be the strategy for a lot of people.
They're designing this game to have highlight moments, right? Like that's what heat engagers look like they are, because those are, like you said, every character has about 5 attacks, like where if they land this particular attack, or maybe it's like if they land, it's like crushing blows is the first thing that I go to in Mortal Kombat 11. If you land one of your specials with certain, circumstances around them, you'll go into this like elevated version of that, and then it activates heat for you. But like every one of those is like, how do we get an opportunity to show a momentum shift or a momentum surge and a slowdown, and like I say, color the screen a different thing, and those are really cool. But Tekken 7 already did that really well without doing all this stuff.
Yeah, it's quite the interesting thing. I really do hope it works out for Bandai Namco. Some of the best developers in the fighting game community, hands down. And I mean, we've just seen this with Street Fighter V and Guilty Gear Strive. Like, too much. It's like, okay, let's all in on offense. And I will say, one of the defensive mechanics, if you want to call it that, is you actually cannot KO someone by hitting them with white health damage only. So, for whatever.
Balanced.
Yeah. It's, there's that. And I mean, I could see them adding more. Maybe there's a lot more damage scaling that we're not aware of just yet. But, I mean, the whole point of this is having burst damage with these two mechanics. So, I mean, even if there is damage scaling, it's still, you're doing a lot more than you otherwise would. So cross our fingers, hope this one works out, but definitely not super hopeful on that based on past history. Moving on here, the last thing is Tekken 8 has a modern control system to make things easier with easy combos and assist functions, but that is like in Tekken 7. This is also fully usable in online modes, which we've seen some interesting stuff here, even with Street Fighter 6 with modern controls in there, where Justin Wong went on like this huge win streak with them. Other people were doing it, so that might have to be tweaked. They might need to tweak this one as well, but maybe people are going to be so distracted with the heat system and other stuff that they're like, easy controls, they don't really matter, but the developers with easy controls did say that you will eventually hit a wall. They feel like you'll hit a wall with these and not really be able to get past them, and they're just there to help learn the game. And even for intermediate and advanced players, they actually recommend this easy control system to learn new combos and learn new setups for characters like really quickly, because it will basically automate a lot of that. So like, hey, what combo should I be doing? Oh, there it is. So you can go about it that way.
Fair enough. And I think that's like a staple of modern fighting games, is to have kind of this like training wheels that doesn't actually affect your their higher levels of skill, but can be used to introduce people. And if it functions that way, great. And that's what their goal is, and they're usually pretty good about hitting their goals like that. So but man, their other goal is aggression, and I think they're going to hit that too.
That was an aggressive comment there. That's going to wrap us up for this episode of EventHubs Talk and Block. We'll be back with another aggressive episode next time.